all you need to do is just go out and do your job and have fun and watch your basketball and stay out of the way of the adults that run the world. I never bought that. Nothing in this world, nothing works the way you think it does. There's always more to the story. That the reason why I'm here doing what I'm doing is because of this mutation which is being foisted on the human race. It's being forced on the human race, this change that the masters of the universe, so to speak, have in mind for the human race is being foisted on us. And I believe, again, just by opinion, that that's my part in this cosmic scheme or this cosmic play, is to call people back to their humanity and let them know you're being led down the garden path into something you don't know what's coming. You know, I can't stand it when people say that this is all high technology of, of our government. No, I don't buy that for a minute. What I've seen with my own eyes, I don't buy it for a minute. If it has anything to do with our government, then what I have actually witnessed with my own eyes, if it has to do with the U.S. government, then that means that the U.S. government is in league with extraterrestrials, because what I saw is extraterrestrial in origin. But I am totally convinced that there is now on the earth, again, for a lack of a better term, alien presence, which are the enemies of the human race. And they are obviously enemies of whoever the original creators of us, because of the things I've been told, that the people or the entities who created us, the gods who created us, have enemies out there in the universe. Something I want to say about Spielberg, and I have many, many, many friends in the industry, and I already know, because I've been told, that virtually all the major names in Hollywood know who I am and what they should. I've been talking for 48 years, and they're using all my stuff now, so they should know me. And so I'm saying that I am totally convinced, beyond a shadow of a doubt for myself, that there are such things as reptile aliens. Though I have never seen one, thank God, but I totally believe they're here. Not because of David Icke, not because of Crito Mutwa, who I love listening to, a wonderful, fascinating man. David Icke has done great stuff. But I believe there are reptile aliens here because of my own personal research. Be aware that there is a war for your soul.
You better get that. I think we start capturing updates now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And that goes for you too.
Watch your mouth. My rules, all right?
No camera, no comments from the side, from the peanut gallery, unless they are invited. All right? Are we all on the same page? Let's have a clap.
Okay.
And action. Jordan Maxwell, I am very excited to be here with you today, and Bill Ryan and I'm Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot. Couldn't be more thrilled to have this honor of interviewing you. You're one of the preeminent researchers. You've been on the scene for over 40 years. I think you're really responsible for David Icke and Zecharia Sitchin and, I don't know, numerous others coming to the fore, talking about secret societies, the Illuminati, and really the powers that be behind the scenes. And there's just no doubt that everyone, Hoagland, I mean, you name it, even Wilcock, everyone owes you a great thank you for bringing this subject matter to the fore and for your amazingly diligent research in this area. You're an amazing mind. You're really you're a national treasure, if you don't mind my saying so, here in America, and I know you've been noticed overseas in that respect as well. So, what do you have to say for yourself? Can you give a better introduction than that?
I would say that you are being very generous and very kind, and I appreciate all your words, but I view myself as just an ordinary person, just doing what I love to do, and that is to look behind the scenes of world events, how things really work, and I started doing this kind of research diligently. I grew up, even as a child, spending most of my time in the library where all the other kids were out playing. I was sitting in libraries, and so I've always been interested to know things that other people don't seem to even know exist. And I've always been interested in the secret side of life, all of the hidden things in the world that most people are not even aware of. I'm just fascinated with how much there is to know that most people don't even know exists. And so I grew up thinking that way, and by the time I was 19 years old, when I ended up in Los Angeles, I decided to dedicate my whole life to studying what I would call the world of the occult. The word occult simply means hidden. And so much of real knowledge and wisdom is hidden because the people who run this planet feel that true knowledge and wisdom of how the world really works is it's knowledge that you don't need to know. And all you need to do is just go out and do your job and have fun and watch your basketball and stay out of the way of the adults that run the world. I never bought that. When I was a child, I used to, of course, be happy when my family would have other families coming over to visit because they would bring their children and I would have people, I'd have kids to play with. But after dinner, the women would always end up in a group, and they're talking women talk, and my dad and his brothers and whoever else was there, all the men would go in the front room and smoke the cigars and have the wine and talk men talk. And so my dad and my uncle especially would always say, well, you kids go on out and play ball. And I would tell my uncle, because I loved my dad's brothers were wonderful. I loved them all. And so I would tell my uncle, I don't want to go out and play ball. I want to hear what you guys are talking about. Because I'm assuming if you want me to go out and play ball, that you're going to talk about something you don't want me to hear. I'm real curious to hear what you want to talk about that you don't want me to hear about. And so even as a kid,
you used to say that to them.
Yeah.
Really, yeah. So you're incredibly precocious, basically.
Yeah, and so what they would do is my uncle and my dad would say, well, we'll go out and play. We'll go out and play too. You know, acting like, okay, we don't need to talk about anything. So we would go out, and of course all the kids would now want to go out because my dad and my uncle is going to be playing with us. So we would all go out to play ball because now the adults were with us. And of course, about 10 minutes into the game, my dad would get tired, you know, because he works all day, so he's tired and that kind of story. So he comes in, and then my uncle a few minutes later would come in. But now the kids we're playing ball, so now we're happy. I see that today. The President of the United States goes to the opening ball game and he throws out the first ball. That's Daddy throwing out the first ball for all the kids to be there. And all the kids are watching their little silly ball games. And then, of course, they would shoot into the audience of the ball games, and you see the movie stars and big-name politicians there watching the game. And I think, you know, I know what that is. It's just the guys who are running the planet want all the poor people, all the kids to know that we're adults who are running the world. We're human like you. We like to come out to the basketball game and see the ball games. And it kind of makes everyone feel kind of happy that our national leaders and our movie stars are like us. They love the ball games too. I never fell for that. I know what's going on. These guys couldn't care less. But it's just politics. It's just, you know, go out and let the people see that you are human like everyone else. I never bought it. I want to know about what these guys are talking about at 2 o'clock in the morning when everyone else is asleep. That's when these guys talk.
Absolutely. Can you possibly feel comfortable enough to share what you shared with us last night about the meeting with that very special person? The one with
yeah, I
the
know what you're
girlfriend.
saying. I'm just trying to think, am I comfortable talking about it?
I understand.
Well, let me go on first and lay some more foundation.
All right.
So it didn't take me very long to figure out that so much of what is going on, humans are not being told. We are not being told the real truth. And I'm going to, a couple of things in particular I want you to know, and I want you to remember. Nothing in this world, nothing works the way you think it does. There's always more to the story. You hear about some marriage breaking up, and a husband did this, a wife did that, and it's very obvious what happened. No, it's not obvious what happened. There's a lot more to the story you don't know. You don't know her background, her past. You don't know his past. You don't know what was going on in the family. You have no idea. So nothing is simple. This is why you have courts. So I found that nothing in this world operates the way you think it does. Banks do not loan money. Governments are not empowered to protect you. Police department is not there to serve you. Institutions of higher learning, colleges and educational institutes are not there to educate you. The entire superstructure of civilization in the Western world is a combination of brilliantly put together and planned, well-planned schemes to direct the minds of the people in such a way as to serve their masters. And I've known that for a long time. And one of the biggest tools in the hands of the masters who run this world is Hollywood. Hollywood is an incredible story. I've said this, and maybe many hearing me now have heard me say this, but I'll say it again, that the white man's establishment comes from Europe. And in northern, southern, well, all four, northeast, south, and western Europe, even at the time of the Roman Empire and before, that whole section of Europe that we call the center for the white man's presence on the earth was quite literally ruled over, ancient Europe was ruled over by a priesthood called the Druids. And the Druids were they were the ministers, the priests, the judges, the lawyers, they were the religious leaders. So there was a priesthood that dominated Europe. It still does. Europe is still a Druidic country. And America is a Druidic country. Unless you understand the Druidic system, then you're never going to figure out what's going on in America and England. But one of the most important symbols in the Druid system was a magic wand, like Merlin the magician with the magic wand, and also the orchestra leaders and conductors always have a magic wand, and you have better play to the tune of the master. He directs you to play, and he directs you to stop with the magic wand. So you're dancing to his music, okay? Magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. And Hollywood is a Druidic establishment. And the symbols, the words, the terms, the stories are designed. Think about it. Think about how Hollywood does what they do. I'm not saying they're evil. I'm just explaining how Hollywood works. You have, first of all, a story. So somebody has to write the story. All right, so now you've got a story. Now you have to give it to a screenwriter who's going to adapt that story, excuse me, adapt that story into a screenplay. Because you can't just tell the story. You have to design it to be a movie. Now once you do that, then you're going to have the actors. Very important actors. Because you're going to need people to act the part. And so it doesn't mean that they actually have human feelings. No, they're being paid to act like they care, to act like they love someone. It's an act. And so you're paying actors to act out the part that the screenwriters have written, and you want to make sure the actors do it just right. So you have to have a director, and he's going to direct everything you say and do the way he wants it said. Then you have, of course, the producer, and he's also subjected to the executive producer who's producing the money. And so all of this is a whole system of putting together a system of a story that tells you a story. It causes you to think in terms of what you just saw, so that people go out from the movie and think in their minds, this is the way you normally would react to a situation, the way that the guy in the movie did. And so that's why today, in the Western civilization, especially in the West, our ability to work with each other and live together as humans is so screwed up. Because we've been watching so much television and so many movies and so much silliness coming out of Hollywood, so much violence and sex and drugs and all the rest of it, that people have no idea in the world how to live anymore. They've lost their humanity.
Okay, so you're saying that in many ways Hollywood movies and television are actually sort of doing behavior modification
Precisely.
on people to get them to behave in certain ways to think is socially acceptable, and then people actually go out and they act the way they're supposed to act rather than the way they really feel in any given situation.
Exactly. Precisely.
So it cements
yes.
the social structure.
That's it.
And I do understand that. Would you also talk about how movies are revealing the Illuminati agenda?
Oh, God, yes. What a story that is. Absolutely. Even more so than you know. Even more so than you suspect. I have been looking at one subject for, well, since 1967. In Glendale, California, let me preface this. In Glendale, California, in 1967, I was researching communism for a lecture I was going to give, and I went to a World Book Encyclopedia, and there was a picture of the national coat of arms of the Soviet Union and the Soviet flag. And that was in 67. Well, I started speaking to small little groups in 60. So for 7 years I'd already been talking to little mom and pop groups and little library rooms and all that, and little bookstores and all that kind of thing. But it was in 67 that I came across a symbol which was the national coat of arms of the Soviet Union. And I was familiar by that time with a particular term that the communists have used, the Nazis have used, the British have used, the Americans have used. And the more I began to, and so when I saw this symbol and the term and the explanation for the symbol in the World Book Encyclopedia, it finally hit me that something is going on a massive, enormous scale around the world. And for the first time I saw it in the Soviet National Coat of Arms, because it was using the same words and terms that the Hitler had used, the Nazis had used, that the fascists had used in Italy. And now as I begin to look, the people of India used it, the governments around the world are using the same symbol. And so I knew that I had stumbled upon something of profound significance. I didn't know what it was, but I already knew, I had a gut feeling that something is really big going on the earth. And the Soviet National Coat of Arms was what triggered my catching it.
When you talked about the symbols there, that reminded me how much of your work is about the interpretation of symbols. And somebody mentioned to me that you were actually the model for the symbologist that was played by Tom Hanks in the movie Da Vinci Code, the Da Vinci Code. Can you say anything about that? Is it true that that was based on your work and your personality and your research?
Well, I'm not in a position to say for sure, because I'm not privy to how they came up with what they did in the movie. All I will say that is for sure and provable is that in 1991, I think it was, I did a presentation that was videotaped in Pasadena area at a bookstore, and the video is out all over the world. It's called The Basic Slide Presentation. And in that, that was back in 1991, Pasadena, I was introduced as an expert on secret societies and occult emblems and symbols of religion and government. And I walked up onto the stage, and it was a slide presentation that I was doing. And so I had the slide projector on, and the slide that was being projected on the screen, I left it on, even before I started, just to have a picture for people to see when they came in. So the slide projector was already on, and the picture that was on the screen was the back of the dollar bill, the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill. And when I walked up onto the platform, I walked in front of the screen, so now it's being projected on me.
That was on the movie.
And then I started pointing to the symbols on the dollar bill and explaining the emblems of words. That's exactly the same scene that's in the movie.
I remember it. It's very dramatic.
Yeah, and go back and get my basic slide presentation back in '91, and it's the same identical thing.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Right, I guess. Of course, I didn't get a check or anything. And then, of course, in 1992 or 93, something like that, I did a video called Matrix of Power, in which I talked about how the world is being manipulated behind the scenes by occult or magical symbols and words that are deceiving civilization, deceiving people. And then later on, a movie comes out called Matrix. But I have been talking about this, this subject for many, many years before. Now, one thing a lot of people do not know is that I was going around, it can be told now, but I was going around to studios in the 70s and in the early 80s, especially in the 70s. I was going around to all the motion picture studios at nighttime, or groups, working class people in the studios would have me come in and do a presentation, slide projector, just a little Mickey Mouse operation, slide projector, throw up a screen. And I would give lectures on Bible codes, Knights Templars, secret societies, and those kind of arcane subjects. And many times I would give lectures like that to just the working class people of the studio. And then sometimes we would rent some office within the studio lot where I could go and sit and talk with a bunch of people who are working at the studio. And I was just having fun talking about things I enjoyed. They would order beer and pizza, we'd sit and talk, and I would do a 2 or 3 hour slide presentation on Bible codes, secret societies. And in '66, late '66, as I said before, I learned about the Illuminati as such. And so I started in giving lectures at the studios on Illuminati, Masonic orders, both the British Grand Lodge and the American Freemasonry, the French and German orders, and tying them all into the secret societies that operate around the globe. And also incorporating in those lectures, as I said, in the 70s, the subject of Illuminati, which I had gotten from Anthony Hilder's records that were put out in 1966. And so today I see, on television, on History Channel, and all kinds of movies from Hollywood talking about Illuminati.
It's actually come from your research. It's percolated itself down into the popular culture.
Well, I mean, if you just keep talking for 48 years, somebody's going to finally hear you somewhere.
Well, it's very possible that they were actually filming and taping you at the studio live.
Well, I know they did. Actually, they were doing it, but there was like individuals who had their cameras and were videotape, and they would audio tape
But even behind the scenes, there could have been recording going on.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of what you talked about has shown up in plot lines, in screenplays, and,
Oh, yeah.
and then in movies, obviously.
Absolutely.
So maybe we can go back again to where you got involved in. You were talking about the Soviet crest, and maybe we could pick up there.
Yeah, and so this was in '67. 1967, as I said, I'm in Glendale, California. I was researching the communist movement, and so I went to the World Book Encyclopedia, and there in the World Book Encyclopedia was a picture of the national coat of arms of the Soviet Union and the communist flag. And I already understood the symbols of the communist flag, but my eye caught that national coat of arms, and I saw in that symbol something I had seen the Nazis use, all the great nations of the world have used, all the presidents of the United States in their inaugural addresses used the same words and terms, all the senators and congressmen when they're running for office use that same term, that same symbol. And so I knew I had stumbled upon something of profound significance. I just didn't know what it meant, but I knew it's important. This is in '67. And so since '67, I have been researching this one term, this one symbol, and the more I find on it, the more I'm amazed at how much there is out there on this one secret symbol that nobody is aware that's right in front of you. It's one of those incredibly fantastic stories of something that is so awesome in scope, and it's sitting right in front of you, and you never saw it. That's how clever these guys are.
So what are you talking about? Because you said there, I mean, we're going to put it on the screen. There's two mountains and a rising sun.
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
So what are the words, and what does this mean?
But in order, look at, just to be able to see it, which you will be able to put into the video, but just to be able to see it is not sufficient. You need about 25 or 30 years of research to understand the significance of what you're seeing and what it actually means. So you'll be able to show it, and it will be something of interest that people will pick up on. But believe me, there's a bigger story yet. So when you are hearing the term Illuminati, or the concepts of secret societies, occult orders, and all that kind of thing, it's actually much bigger than you think. There's something far bigger going on the earth that most people are not aware of.
Are we talking about the rising sun? Are we talking about the rising of the New World Order? We're talking about, we're also talking about something else, aren't we?
Yes, that's right, something very big.
Something more.
Something goes all the way back into BC, back into the ancient world. Zachariah Sitchin and I have talked about this. At one time, I was in business with Zachariah Sitchin. I helped send him to different countries, and we were going to do a television, a 13-week mini special I was going to do with Zach. And Zachariah Sitchin has been my dear friend and a brilliant man, and I was so impressed with him, I talked him into signing a contract with me to do a 13-week mini-series for television. And unfortunately, the attorneys and the people who were financing the project for me, at the last minute, after we had already shot like 5 different countries, and we were almost through, they pulled the plug on the whole project. So it wasn't Zach's fault, it wasn't my fault, it was the people who were financing it, they faltered. But I've had a lot of opportunities to talk to Zachariah about things which I'm interested in. And I've learned a lot talking to him in private, which will unfortunately have to stay private. But
okay, so you're not able to tell anything about something that he told you that was actually very significant.
Well, no, it's just that the symbol I'm talking about is on the national coat of arms of the Soviet Union. So I would say anyone who's interested in this, look at the symbols on the national coat of arms and study it. Don't just look at it, but look at all the implications of it, and then follow the other pictures that I have, that I will give you, with each one's a step closer and another step closer to it and keeps going. And I think there's about 6 or 7 pictures.
Okay, but it also links up with the Japanese, the use of this red sun, also the
Right.
sun that was in Obama's inauguration
Exactly.
in the background.
What about the Pittsburgh G20 summit? It's like a bridge.
I know.
There's two,
Yeah.
That's the same thing, how with 2 bridges coming
Yeah.
together?
But isn't there some occult significance to the sun itself?
Of course there
linking
is.
up here?
Of course.
And are we talking about something to do with the Anunnaki as well and their
Yes.
agenda?
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
There is a hidden agenda that's been in operation on this earth for thousands of years. And and see, I'm at a disadvantage because I'm trying to explain something to an audience who has not been where I've been and seen what I have. And so I'm having a difficulty trying to legitimize what I'm saying if you haven't seen what I've seen. And so...
Okay, well, that's part of the purpose of the interview. I mean, we are Camelot. We have a lot of background information already on our site, as you know. And so in many ways, the people that are watching this will have seen, they'll have been already educated if they weren't, to begin with.
I understand.
By Camelot, by the other people that have come before you. But I think it's very significant that we're talking now. And I think that what we've touched on here is like, this is the beginning of a revealing that most people are not aware of. And obviously, you've got that story, okay?
I'll tell you, no matter how well prepared and how well read you are, I will guarantee you, you've not heard the story.
Okay.
I have a story no one's heard. And I've been looking at it since 67. So we're talking about what, how many years is that? 67 to 2007? That's what, 40 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And when did you actually stumble on the final, because I feel like, in a sense, you have the full meaning of it at this stage. I think that perhaps you have that full meaning. So I'm asking you, in a sense, when did you arrive there? How many years ago did you actually get to the full meaning?
I think probably somewhere in the mid-90s, it began to really dawn on me.
Okay, yeah, and dawn has something to do with it.
That's right.
We're also talking about,
we're talking about an ancient story that has been...
the Golden Dawn. We're talking about the Golden Dawn and the information there. But what...
Much further back, but Golden Dawn was just one more step in a continuing flow of a particular idea, and as it moves into the last days of the world that we're living in, we are now entering into a new dispensation, I choose that term, dispensation of time, in which this symbol is going to be everywhere.
Okay.
And I would like to be able to give like a 2.5 to 3 hour presentation just on this one symbol. I had a motion picture producer, a rather successful motion picture producer, and I were talking about doing a movie, and he called it, after I gave him some of the information, he called it, let's call the movie The Symbol. And then we talked about it and said, well, maybe the hidden symbol. And I have the contract where he sent me, and here's the movie that we want to do, and we'll call it The Symbol, or The Hidden Symbol. And that never got done for all kinds of reasons. But then I see the new movie coming out with Dan Brown, The Hidden Symbol, and I'm thinking, these guys who are smart, intelligent in Hollywood, they are either knowledgeable on this symbol and are releasing it slowly but surely, or there's some kind of an understanding going on that people are starting to look at symbols more now and beginning to put the pieces together like I've been doing for 48 years. And now they are beginning to perceive what I'm talking about. But they haven't got there yet. And so it's a form of professional jealousy. I would like to be the one that presents my work before Warner Brothers gets a hold of it from somebody else.
Well, I mean, here's your opportunity. So anything you hold back at this point, I mean, really, you do so at your own risk, in a sense.
I understand.
Because this is an opportunity, and we are really coming close to the juncture, I mean, 2012 and beyond,
Right.
where this agenda is really coming to the fore.
I know.
So
And it's just
not
incredible.
yeah,
watching
I
it.
mean, it's amazing that you've been watching this thing with full
For 40 years, I've been watching it
awareness
coming. Right.
as to each step, each rollout. And so, take us down the path.
All
Tell
the
us-
presidents of the United States, all of them, have used the same terms. From George Washington, the terms he used and the things he said were taken directly from the ancient prehistoric world of the Anunnaki, the ancient gods, from the ancient Sumerians, Babylonians, Phoenician Canaanites, ancient Greece, ancient Rome. They all use the same word in the same term.
Okay, what is the term? What are the terms?
The term is the dawn of the new day.
Okay.
And the concept of the dawn of a new day is the sun rising between two mountains. And this goes back to the beginning of Christianity in the 4th century when Constantine codified the religion called Christianity. Christianity is nothing more than, in my opinion, Christianity is the most popular rendition of the ancient cult story. This ancient thing that for thousands of years has been hidden from people, but the masters of the world, the kings and rulers have all understood. Christianity is telling you the same story, but you don't see it. So people are fixated on Jesus and on his ministry and never for a moment suspect that the entire story is the same ancient story that's been told by so many ancient cultures and is today part of the New World Order, Illuminati, Masonic orders around the earth. The entire superstructure of Western civilization has bought into this most ancient story, never realizing for a moment what they're doing.
Okay, I have some clues along the lines of this, and I have to say, you're really talking about the rise of the sun of Anu,
Exactly.
you're talking about, I don't know if it's Marduk, but it's Orion, the son of Orion. Can you tell me?
Now you're getting close, right? That's
Okay,
right.
this is him coming actually to come back to sit on the throne and to rule the world, and so maybe you can sort of start to paint that picture because. Now, is he coming in a craft?
Well,
Is
I
this
don't know.
depicted?
Maybe I would not be a bit surprised if they're already here, just waiting.
Okay,
They don't have to come. They're already here.
All
That's
right.
what Steven Spielberg said
right.
in his War of the Worlds. They're not coming. They're already here.
That's
And
right.
they popped up from out under the street. Symbolically, what Hollywood and Steven Spielberg are saying, they're right under your feet. They're right under the
Well,
city.
according to Bob Dean, they're walking the halls of the Pentagon.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. Yeah.
So we certainly have witness testimony in that area.
I'm going to do a presentation on this very soon. I already have about a 3-hour presentation already ready to go that I
But
want
is-
to
Okay, but is this
explain it.
ruler coming to kind of take control? Is this a positive thing in your view or a negative thing?
I think negative.
Okay.
I think very negative. But the whole world is sucking it up. They love it. Never realizing the full implications of what's being said. It's like some kids going into Hollywood, leaving home and they're going to Hollywood. They're going to be in the motion picture capital of the world. Never realizing, no, the streets of Hollywood in this city is not some place for an innocent kid. You're getting yourself involved in something you have no idea in the world how bad it really is. And I think that so many people have bought into the different religious orders, Jehovah's Witnesses, Christadelphians, Worldwide Church of God, Mormon Church. All of these are part and parcel of a larger world movement that's been planned for a long time. And where the world, especially in the Western world, I'm talking mostly in the Western world, because the Arabic world is also heavily involved in this, but that's a different subject. But for the moment, Western civilization is just going over going over the wall with this thing. Everybody has bought into it. You're seeing
Okay,
it in
but what about,
politics.
I mean, it's in the Japanese flag, so there has to be some acquiescence there with China.
Oh yeah,
all,
absolutely. They're all using it, and they're all buying into this whole new order of the world, never realizing what this actually implies. You know, the very term Novus Ordo Seclorum on the back of the dollar bill, that comes from the Roman poet Virgil. In ancient Rome, there was a poet that was appointed by the court of Rome to write poetry for Caesar. And of course, if you're going to write poetry for Caesar, you want to write something nice that he will like. So Virgil, in one of his poems called Aeneid, wrote about the time when there would come a great world ruler in the seat of Caesar. But this ruler would be awesome in power, to be far more than any man could ever be. And that time when he would come, the sun would rise on a Novus Ordo Seclorum, a new world order. And when that one comes, it would be the beginning of a whole new civilization. And the term that Virgil used in Latin was Novus Ordo Seclorum, a new order of the world. Now, when you get into this subject, which now you have to get to the Hebrew and Jewish religion, where Judaism comes from, where Christianity comes from, where Islam actually comes from, and trace back like Zachariah Sitchin has done for us. And he's not the only one. There are many who have written on this subject of the ancient world and the symbols and words and terms and theologies that's come down to us for thousands of years. There's just so much we could talk about that without pictures, without the ability to show the audience what I'm talking about, it's a little difficult. But I'm going to be doing a series on it. I've already got it.
But basically, we're talking about the beginning of a reign with this king who is a son.
Right.
And he's basically going to take control of the world.
Of the whole earth.
Yeah.
And the destiny of the human family, period.
Okay. And do you know where that destiny is headed? In other words, what is unique about this son and his proclivities, his point of view, where he's coming from, that's different from what we've had before?
I think that the agenda of this one who is to come is to mutate the human race. I believe that is what is is the agenda, is to mutate the human race, not necessarily evolution. Though I believe that evolution has its place in the world. I think that there are things which do evolve. And I'm not talking about man coming from monkeys. I'm not, because obviously man did not come from monkeys. Man is evolving into monkeys. And so that's